We'll call the Osceola Township special budget meeting to order. Ms. Houle, could you kindly take the roll?
Mr. Wareham.
Here.
Ms. Gardner.
Here.
Mr. Halkola.
Here.
And he's not here.
We have a quorum.
We do.
The next item on our proposed agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Those present, would you kindly rise and face the flag? Those participating via Zoom, please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. The next item on the proposed agenda is the approval of the agenda. I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I will make that motion.
Ms. Gardner, is there support?
Full support.
Ms. Houle, are there any additions to the agenda from anyone's perspective?
No.
Any deletions? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to approve the agenda as presented, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We have an agenda. The next item on our agenda is public comment. We'll open public comment for up to 3 minutes for any individual wishing to address the board at tonight's special budget meeting. Please identify yourself and the floor will be yours for 3 minutes.
I may say something at the end, but nothing here. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? We will reserve time at the end of the meeting for public comment. Thank you. Please note the start and end time of the first public comment section. Item 5. Budget work session number 2. If I may, as a first order of business, could we kindly review action taken at our meeting the other evening relative to working on the draft budgets for the current fiscal year and making necessary adjustments or amendments? I'd like to walk through them, starting with the Osceola Township budget itself, the general budget profit and loss. Adjustments were made, Aaron, I'll let you get to your seat. Adjustments were made on line 718, payroll tax.
Which one are you starting?
I'm starting with the Osceola Township General.
Okay.
Is everybody set? I think we started with Tamarack City the last time. I apologize for changing the order on you.
That's right.
So Township General, 718 was changed to 9,300. 722 was increased to 42,000. Office expense was increased to 7,800. Telephone increased to, that's line item 730, or budget item 730 more appropriately. The one before was 727. Phone went to 1,050. Resources were taken from 752 audit, reducing it to 5,000. Insurance expense, line 810, reduced to 9,000. Training reduced to 500, that's line 884. And 886 conferences to 1475. The budget remains 288,400 in projected revenue and 288,400 in projected expenses. Is that consistent with everybody's recollections and or review of the sheets?
Yep.
Thank you. Then moving to the next one would be Osceola Township Water Fund. Again, we took added revenue to 702 water supervisor salary, raising it to 17,350, which seems to exceed the amount budgeted rather significantly. I recall a comment on that. I believe It may include, is it help from an assistant or whatever in Bob's
Yeah.
absence from previous meetings or general discussions? Is that?
Could
It shouldn't.
Paul?
It-
Paul check.
Oh,
That's the only thing I could think of.
Or-
it's
He did
possible,
have
because
hours.
Ron comes under
Or Ron.
labor expense 708,
Okay.
and I changed those myself, but
Oh,
I might not
okay.
have changed Paul. It's possible. I can go back and look
Let's
at that.
double check that
Okay.
before we approve on Wednesday then, just to
Yeah,
be
I
sure.
can double check
It
that.
also could be that Bob has been putting in more time on various matters than originally projected.
I thought I remember something about.
No, he's salary.
He's
When
salary.
they were helping towards Lake.
Mhm.
Let's
When did he
confirm that
get,
for Wednesday.
when
if
did
we
he
may.
get his raise? Did his raise start last year, like this fiscal year, or was it the year before?
The year before.
Like
Oh,
everything was
okay.
the year before. We didn't
Okay,
have-
so we
I
wouldn't
don't think
have,
there were any
Sure.
increases for the current year.
so it wouldn't have been that. It's probably just a miscategorization.
Well, we have until Wednesday.
Yeah.
That will be an early item on our agenda for
Okay.
Wednesday, approval of these, so we have ample time to check. 709 payroll tax up to 2550. Phone 728 up to 1150. Dues and memberships 958 up to 5200. And I believe most all expenses were taken out of maintenance and repair line 745 to balance the budget. Anticipated revenue for the budget was 215,800 and expenses are at 215,800. The last budget was the one for Tamarack City. Again, there was an adjustment to 702 water supervisor salary, a modest increase to 5,300. Telephone, 728, a modest increase, well, actually a rather significant increase to 1825, but please note, for next year's budget, this will be reduced considerably, given the work by Traci to work out a lower rate with, I believe, AT&T for the landline of something in the $80 to $85 a month range, so
Yeah.
that will drop considerably in the coming year's budget. Postage, 732, an increase to 1,000. 740, office supplies, an increase of 100 to 400. Maintenance and repair, an increase to 2,200. Water purchases, an increase to 36,000. Based on updated figures, that will probably be more than enough. Not reflected here. I think we may have gotten a bill in the 3,000 plus range. If I recall correctly from conversations. It's not reflected there as yet, but will be by Wednesday. So that should be more than enough. The primary places where resources were taken from were water system improvements, reducing that to 8,305 and still leaving a sufficient cushion there. Dues and memberships also went up. I apologize for not identifying 958. That's twice I've inverted those numbers to 3,100. And miscellaneous expenses were also reduced to 1,400. Our anticipated cost on this budget is 122,530 when the budget was prepared, and expenditures of 122,530, so they matched that. So all of those budgets amended at our most recent meeting have been updated. We are going to check on a couple of things between now and Wednesday to ensure that our figures are accurate and reflective of costs. And we will approve these amended budgets for the current fiscal year as the first order of business on Wednesday. Does anyone have any questions about what we've just gone through the way of review? Concerns, questions, ideas, observations?
No.
Hearing none, going forward then with the 21-22 budget. A couple of things of note very quickly is, everyone's familiar with this, but I did jump into the MTA manual relative to budgets, and would just like to read a sentence from budget hearings and budget preparation. It has to do with the expectations for compliance by the end of the fiscal year, which is the 31st of March, with our budget for next year, hence the purpose for the hearing and the budget work session and budget approval meeting on Wednesday. It reads as follows. To comply, the township budget should be based on the previous year's allocation, as the budget hearing should be held prior to the beginning of the fiscal year, which we are indeed doing, holding our meeting on the 25th. We won't have hard numbers for next year until sometime after the year begins, but we will begin the process of updating, amending our proposed budget for next year as early as our April 14th board meeting, where we will take into account items from tonight's conversation and other things that have come to the board at previous meetings.
So we'll use these numbers for
We'll
next year.
use these numbers for next year as the template, the ones that we will, that's why we will approve the amendments to the budgets for this year first,
Mhm.
before we approve anything relative to budget. But we will have this information laid out in this fashion. Other items that we will be looking for next Wednesday and that need to be included in our hearing include the mills that we will be charging from fire departments by way of example, what taxes we anticipate utilizing, or the tax rate we anticipate being utilized for the township. In addition, we have road funds where there are mills charged, and that information will be available. So in looking at last year's worksheet as an example for our hearing and budgets, we will have the budget in aggregate and some budget detail behind it for each of the budgets that will need approval. We will look at all of our funds that will contribute both directly and indirectly to supporting the township budget. And by indirectly, I mean those that are earmarked or dedicated funds, such as road funds and all. We have an old road fund allocation that is used sparingly. That figure will be identified for Wednesday. And we will identify, again, on the road funds, each of the precinct road fund balances brought up to date, if not already done so, but I'm pretty confident they're there now. I'm looking at Traci and Christa, that it'll be just a matter of laying out the figures, drawing down money utilized this year, fiscal year for road fund activities, and committing dollars out of this year's fund where the work will be done next year because it was approved and begun this year. If I may, again, with the board's understanding, the best example of that is what transpired in Precinct 1, Tamarack City, where there was a considerable outlay of road fund dollars in concert with dollars through FEMA relative to the Father's Day flood that allowed us to significantly improve, enhance, and upgrade roads in Tamarack City. And then when the road commission bill for their work down there came in $9,000 to $10,000 below estimated cost, if I recall correctly, the board did commit $8,000 for, I believe it's East Street in Tamarack City, to fix that hillside road. Much of the work was done last fall, this fiscal year, but they won't be surfacing it until next year, but that money will be committed out of this year's allocation and so identified to complete that project. So we'll try to have all of that laid out so the board will be able to look at it at a glance and understand what's available and what has been committed. There have been very small commitments out of Precinct 2. I'm looking at Mr. Janke in particular. I think it's 14,600 going from memory that we had committed to the activities around the school with the improvements there. And I think that bill's been paid already, but there is a significant balance and still in that fund with resources to be added from this year's winter tax, correct?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you for that. And then in Precinct 4, I don't believe we made a commitment of any revenue, so they will have a significant fund balance, relatively speaking, plus anything that will be added with this year's taxes. So we'll have up-to-date figures by Wednesday for everybody to look at. I believe these are decisions that the board has already made, but we're trying to review some of those orally. So when you look at a figure and say, where's that going? Well, we'll know that we committed it this year but the work will actually take place next year, for example, again, going back to Tamarack City. So,
What did we do? Wasn't there work we were looking at doing possibly in conjunction with Franklin Township and Precinct 4?
we have talked about.
I mean, we were gonna
perhaps
oil or what?
partnering with, Franklin Township on O'Neiko Road.
Yeah.
We don't have estimates for work yet from the
Okay.
road commission.
Did we oil that one port? I mean, wasn't there something?
We did have a late request for, I believe, the Okarinen Road,
Mhm,
for oiling, at the western end of precinct 4.
mhm.
And that's something that we had talked about committing revenue to this year. Thank you for the reminder. That would come out of next year's allocation.
Oh, okay.
So
I,
it-
for some reason.
we
thought
did
it was
not
last
commit
year.
any money
or
to
this year.
that this year because it was
Okay.
too late to have anything done. But thanks for the heads up to that. We'll see if we can alert the road commission to getting estimates early on in the fiscal year.
Yeah.
To take care of oilings. We did oil one road up there. I'm trying to recall which one it was. The road that runs
Mhm.
alongside.
It was
Calumet
specifically by a
Township.
couple of people. I wish I
Yeah.
could remember the guy's name.
If I recall correctly, we covered both sides of the road,
Yes,
the entire length.
there was a space in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we covered an adjoining township's piece of road because it was beneficial.
Okay, yeah,
If I
yeah.
recall correctly, somebody made the comment that it doesn't make any sense to just oil half of the
Wow,
road.
right.
It's people
What
try.
road was
Did
that?
they bill us for that?
Yeah, we did, we paid. for
What
that
did it
already.
get paid
Yeah.
out of? I don't remember paying it out of one of the road.
I think we paid it shortly after the work was done. Because
Okay.
the work was done early in the summer, and that's when a request came in to do
I don't know,
another
make a
road.
note, we'll have to look.
Yeah.
It's not,
have
I don't
my
think it
road
came out
map.
of the road fund, so we'll have to move.
I think we did. I'll take a look at my.
I don't
folder
remember that.
between now
I only
and
remember
then.
you writing that one check because you were
Mhm.
like, have I done that?
Right,
I was
yeah,
like,
we'll have to
"Yes."
look.
Hey, Mark,
Okay,
Mark, when you're saying next year, are you talking about?
I'm talking about next
First
fiscal year.
Fiscal
Yeah, I
year.
apologize, Bob. Yeah, to differentiate, we're talking about the fiscal year, not the calendar year.
one?
This will be work that will be done in the 21-22 fiscal year that begins on April 1st. Thanks, Bob, for the question. So that's just a very quick overview. My assumption is that we are going to look broadly at utilizing our budget. There are a plethora of things that we have discussed over the course of the year that require attention, and we'll see what we can do relative to the budget. I'm still waiting to hear, by way of example, from Tokyo Marine relative to process to obtain the insurance coverage. But I think before we get anywhere with them, we're going to have to go out on bids to minimally replace the boards. And that's something that I would suggest we take up at our April 14th meeting and let bids out so we can have something a little more definitive than the estimated cost I discussed with the insurance agents locally. But no one has indicated that those resources are not available to us or won't be to settle that claim. It's just a matter of getting something in, but we do have people that have offered to repair. I think we go out to township and or nearby contractors and ask them for figures during the month of April. So by May, we're moving forward with that. I do have a list of other items we'd like to do with regards to the ice rink area and other parts of the township, but certainly that'll be part of our discussion once budgets are approved and we roll into the amendment process that will begin in earnest on the 14th of April. So, any questions of me? What I've shared generally about things that I've been working on or that you have suggested to me need work and begin to look into them. I don't have a whole lot of other items about the 21-22 budget at this moment, other than the figure that I'll be working out to prepare some detail for you will be the 288,400 relative to the township, the 215 and change for Osceola Water, and the 122.5 in round numbers for Tamarack City Water. So,
I do have a question, Mark, and I apologize if I'm out of whack here, but looking at the profit and loss budget versus actual for the general township.
okay,
The expense for tax supplies is 2189, but we have no expenses for office supplies. And that budget goes from April 1, 2020 through March 21. Did they have any office supply expenses last year?
Wait, what?
You're looking at which
So
one?
I was looking at the wrong one.
maybe am I not crossing it over right?
Office supplies.
What's
Are you looking at 729?
728, right, and then 729 is zero.
Hmm.
728 tax supplies is 2189. I mean, we must buy Xerox paper, something must be under office expense, no?
Tax supplies is my stuff,
That's her.
like my,
Okay.
my tax paper, my envelopes.
Okay, so
Um,
where does like our Xeroxing?
Office expense,
It's under
727
office
is probably under
expense.
office expense.
Right, it's
Which
not
is-
an office, which we're gonna work on getting rid of a bunch of these and
Okay.
minimizing a lot of these categories
That's
because of
I
that.
just get confused. where
There
it-
was never a budget for office supplies.
Okay,
But office expense, which
Office
includes
expense,
supplies.
yes,
okay.
so that's where I want
That's
to,
where my confusion.
I
is.
want to
Okay.
fix this.
I mean, there's
because
lots of them on here. There.
Yeah.
The zeros
Lots of
across, the zeros across the board. I mean,
Yeah.
Right. they need
are we
to
just
go
not
away.
using them, or is there something in those line items that we don't see here that is used somewhere else in that program?
Probably
Or
not,
they were just created at one point and they
Created.
pop
I
up
mean,
when
I'm
we,
looking here at the water budget, you know, and I see storage building 00000, and I don't see why we would need to have storage building on there anymore. I mean,
Right.
obviously, we're gonna have an expense for that storage building, maybe for putting up a beam or something like that, but then that makes me look up at maintenance and repair. Do we put it at maintenance and repair, or do you put it under water system improvements, because it's an
Right,
improvement?
right.
I mean, how are we differentiating between those two, actually?
the water system improvement is like an actual improvement to the water
that
system
makes
itself.
sense, right.
Yeah, whereas the
So-
other thing is something we're just fixing, I'm assuming.
Correct.
And something like that can go under miscellaneous.
But I mean, you got new
expense.
water project principal, new water project interest, there's obviously nothing in any of those.
Right.
You know, do we leave that there? Is there gonna be any other little water project? Can we
And
start
these-
using that again?
They can
someday?
be hidden
This
and
can
then
be hidden, make it,
pulled
they
up.
can be made inactive, and once I want to sit with the accountant and we want to get these compacted and so they make more sense. A lot of this is,
They put them, they tried to keep the two water companies in the same categories, right?
Mhm.
And I know last year we were talking about the storage building.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering if that's why that budget line didn't get put in there.
Yeah.
These are probably old fields
I think they are.
that are zeroed out,
Yeah.
and then, but they stay in the software, or in the
Right.
program, and they
Mhm.
print out on the budget.
Yeah.
But I think the point is extremely
I
important.
mean, we could shrink this up a little bit and make this a
a lot
little.
of it.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
for
that-
sure.
It's always been
That's
on
our
my
intent.
mind, it's just, there's never the time to do it, and I want to work with the accountant to do it, to make sure it gets done correctly and things are put away neatly, so if we need to pull them back out,
You got your answer?
so,
Yes, I
yes.
did.
Okay, I got
Trust
some
me,
too.
this drives me.
I know, it
crazy.
drives me nuts too, it has for years.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
we'll just keep bringing it up, and maybe someday
It will,
somebody
be.
will have time. If we can find some time.
It's on my,
Aaron, did you have specifics? that you-
Yeah, I do.
Please.
So obviously I see that we have the Mason reimbursement thing going on in here. In the general, budget, profit and loss, first sheet, page 1.
Oh, yeah.
40,
But even if you take that number out, the numbers aren't close. We were doing a lot of adjustment on the expense side, but I'm questioning whether the revenue side is real.
No, not yet.
Isaac, do we have any inkling that it's going to be real, like the 200, I mean, we're making an adjustment of 288 and we're saying, okay, now it balances, but the question I'm having here is.
Yeah.
Is this, I mean, right now it says our through March 22nd is $75,000 in revenue and $288,000 expected expenses. And we've just balanced our budget here to say, yeah, we're gonna spend the 288,000. Even if you add 83,000 back into that from this negative column that's in there, it's still not even close. Not remotely.
Point
Hundreds plus thousand away.
Well, may I
So-
interject something? Mr.
So I'm just asking if there's something we know here.
Well, two things, if I may. One, the top and bottom on the budget side is what we're looking at, and those are projections and figures that are put in at the start of our year, just like they were last year for this year, that are the best estimate based on the historic utilization of funds over time, but may have less and less relevance, as you can see all the columns that have been zero, whatever. If I may suggest, first of all, your point is well taken about the anticipated budget, but please look at what is total expense versus budget. And
You're saying the bottom down here?
yeah, on the second page, you'll see 227,948, which reflects expenses identified in this budget, which are also nowhere near where they would be if the budget was being met at 288,400. So our expenses are probably going to come in somewhere well under 250,000. And once the revenues that have been received get caught up and the Mason Sewer project reimbursement is appropriately categorized as the resources returned to the budget, we should be ideally running by the end of the fiscal year, early part of next year, when reports are caught up, with a little bit more revenue in our possession. I'm projecting a modest surplus rather than a significant surplus based on the last couple of years' audits, where we've been told we are operating with sufficient revenue, but the margins are closing. So I don't have a definitive answer. It's a speculative answer, but our expenses are nowhere near where they would be to get to the 288. We're
Well,
balancing.
I'm assuming you're probably saying we're gonna be down around we're gonna be around 230, maybe 240, something.
Somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah, and so 288 is high. Again, this comes in, well, are we actually gonna receive the 288? You're
No.
saying there's probably not
No.
likely we're going to receive the 288, but you think we're gonna get above 240.
Right.
Even though the numbers that I'm looking at are still not even remotely close to 240.
Agreed. And when we closed out last
We're
year,
at like-
we had slightly more.
I'll say
Oh,
160 right now. Revenue, and how much more do we have coming in? I'm assuming that the property tax allocation, which is 48 budgeted and it's at 6,000 now, I'm assuming we're expecting a significant increase in that coming in.
Yes.
The second.
So
thing would
we're
be
gonna
revenue
fill
share.
that column out, you
Oh,
think?
yeah, definitely.
Okay,
And
obviously the 150 is at 104 right now, and
Yeah.
do we have heard anything from the state?
Yes.
Are we gonna get our 150 or what are we gonna?
Yes,
Yeah.
we have, yep.
Yeah.
We have money from charter that just came in last week that I haven't deposited yet.
So we're gonna get close to the 12.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Let's see, the last one is the miscellaneous revenues here, where we have 38,004 budgeted and we're at 8 right now, and I don't know what we chuck into that sometimes for miscellaneous, but it doesn't appear like, is there an earmark in there that we know is coming that's gonna fill that back in, or line item 40?
Yeah, that one I
Yeah.
don't, that one I don't know.
I don't know on that one either. I don't know.
Um,
You have to look.
Tax administration fees is $7,000 down,
And that's with all the tax stuff, so that's that'll be
so
there.
it's still gonna be shaken
Yeah.
out, but, okay, so I'm just checking to make sure that when we go look at this next, whatever we're looking at here, okay. Then for my questions here, I had the similar question on the water.
Which water?
Oh, let's just look at the Osceola Township, I think that the Tamarack one is better. But we're 45 grand down right now on that one. Fortunately, we haven't spent that much money either, so
For that one, we still have one more
one more
billing
bill
that has to go out.
cycle coming
Yeah.
through.
And it's a 2-month billing cycle.
It's a
So
full
revenue
2-monther?
share.
Yeah.
So what's a 2-month revenue on that?
I don't have any-
Hang on, let me get my chart out.
Yeah, or do you have your
Yeah,
the
I've got it here.
spreadsheet?
Hang on a
Okay.
second. With regards to Dollar Bay water fees collected year to date, this is through January. We collected just under 171,000. So we're averaging.
What does it break out to it per
Per
month,
month.
Roughly
roughly?
17,000. So we should have,
Per
we
month?
should come in about 204 in Osceola relative to water with expenses that won't exceed 200,000. And come close. So, yeah, remember, it's a 2-year billing or 2-month billing cycle, so that's why Christa prepares.
So we'll get close to the, we'll get close to 200, but I don't know about this 215, is that what we're saying?
Yeah, the budget again is,
I know, I
Yeah.
get that part, yeah.
But revenue, we should exceed expenses. Again, it'll be a modest balance or surplus in the account, which raises the whole specter of the other thing we need to talk about, which would be modest rate hikes in water systems and what have you. And we'll lay that strategy out for the board's review and consideration again during our April 14th meeting, as we close out and get a better look at what our numbers are.
I think we need to look hard at this hydrant hook, or this hookups number. I mean, we have to be realistic about the number of hookups that are coming in
Oh,
per
for
year.
sure.
You know, the hydrant number, I'm assuming we still have to bill the fire department for that. Is that what's going on there? Or it's just not being taken out yet?
That's a closeout issue, I'm speculating, that that's done at the end of the year.
I don't know when we do it. I guess I've never known when it happens. I just know that it happens. I just don't see it happening now.
That's not a question I can answer.
That's a question I can answer, but not right now.
Okay. One of the things I was looking at too is in the vehicle expenses here, I see that we spent $1,447 on the vehicle, and I feel like we spent way more than that on this vehicle. So I'm wondering, is that going in other places?
In where, coming out of where?
Where are you looking?
For vehicle expenses, 731.
In general?
Well, I mean, how much does the paint job
In the
cost?
water?
There's an Osceola Township water right now.
Oh, hold on.
I feel like there's been several things that have been done to that truck here, and it's, I don't
And then
know,
it's broken up between
split in half, sure.
2/3, 1/3. Usually it's how we do,
Does the gas go somewhere else then?
maintenance and repair, usually
For fuel?
vehicle expense.
I just can't believe he drove that truck all year for $1,447, even if you cut it and it only take 2/3 of what he's spending.
Gas should go under vehicle. Or it goes under maintenance and repair. Possibly.
I don't think the last expense on that truck is in that number yet.
Probably under, it might not be.
You think that the paint job thing isn't under there?
I don't think it is.
I
Pay
think
that bill
yeah,
yet?
I think I think the painting of the truck has already been addressed.
What's the last thing we did?
Well, there was a dent
There
and
was a
then there
dent.
was some paint. Those are two separate issues.
Yeah.
Wasn't there something else on the front end there? Something happened in the front end there earlier in the year or something, I thought?
Oh, is it possible that that you're putting it under maintenance
I
and
could
repair?
be, because there's not enough money in the budget under vehicle. So if
Okay, so we'll
I
have
put it under
to,
maintenance and repair, if there's not enough money
but
in
the
the
maintenance and
budget.
repair category should be maintenance and repair of the system, not.
I feel like the maintenance and repair numbers should be specific to
The system.
the
Right.
system itself. Yes,
Yeah.
and that's why
Okay.
you
some of
guys are
those might just
closing
have to
out
get-
this, and did we include, or are we just gonna push this? We haven't heard anything more about the maintenance and repair item for some of the stuff that we had them look at down there, for the meter. Okay, we haven't heard anything more on that. Has anybody heard any more from those guys? I think Rob Janot I think he is not around right now. I don't know, I don't think he's here right now.
Talking about the work done by Bay Electric.
Bay Electric came down, they were proposing to do some work down there, and then they were gonna get back to us, and I haven't heard anything, and
I
I
don't
don't broken
think they-
stuff.
Have they got?
There's that guy from the north end, you can hear.
I haven't heard anything from him either, have you? I haven't heard anything from anybody on any of that stuff, one way or the other.
I don't
The
recall.
guy that you're talking about is the one that,
Well, Rob was down there, but then
See that
he brought that controls guy down north end, what was his name, what was the name of that
I
company?
don't remember.
So you're suggesting that there are some potential expenses for next year?
I don't know,
that-
that's why I'm asking what's in here.
Huh?
That hydrants thing, isn't that the thing that was like, we couldn't,
Last year. I thought
it was like so, we
Yeah.
couldn't get our brain around it.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God, okay.
I have a note.
So
Yeah,
as
I have
far
an
as
opinion.
revenue goes for the water, we usually charge the fire departments, both fire departments. I'm assuming it's gonna work that way in Tamarack too.
What's that?
It is, there's a
The
lot
hydrant,
for
the
that.
hydrant charges are gonna
Mhm.
get charged to the fire department.
Yeah, usually. That's why we always argue about the 28.
I know we argued
And
about
is
it, but
are these the right amounts for the hydrants?
2840 is still wrong.
Well, that's a budgeted figure. The
I
actual
know it.
figure that comes in is less because there's what, 4 hydrants
There's 4
up in,
hydrants up in the.
up in Calumet and
Precinct 1.
precinct
or
1
4.
that inadvertently end up being charged to Tamarack City. That,
So that
Well, that-
budgeted number is wrong, that's.
wrong.
Well, it could be right. We just take the other 4 out of there and put it in there. Out of precinct 4 and put it
Right,
into
but
your budget.
Precinct 1 isn't gonna pay for precinct's 4 hydrants.
no,
No, but we take money out of 4 and put it in there.
maybe the answer would be
Precinct
to
4.
differentiate between 4 and
She's
1
right.
and identify the 2.
She's right, the water company, but the problem is the water company doesn't have anything to do with those hydrants up there.
No, nothing.
So those hydrants,
Oh
if
my
anybody's,
gosh, that's right.
if anybody's charging for those hydrants, it should be Michigan
The town-
American Water up there or
It
something.
should be the township.
I think Michigan American Water is everything up there.
Who do we get
Well, the
paid?
township would get charged if those
We get
hydrants.
charged for the hydrants every single month for Michigan American Water, $540.
So those should be coming out
every
of that fire fund on the north end.
Yes.
Okay. Now we found the answer to the problem.
Okay.
Definitely, because they shouldn't be, we shouldn't be paying for them hydrants.
No.
Then why do we have a hydrant line on here?
Well, most.
Yo, you
You
need
just have to
that.
pay for ours in Tamarack.
Tamarack pays for their hydrants. Dollar Bay has to pay for their hydrants. It's just there's nothing showing up here. So I'm assuming that's coming, but I don't know if it's being taken care
I
of.
don't know how you do it.
And we're at the end.
It's like a crisscross, it's in
Mhm.
our tax money.
Yes.
And it's just.
It,
moves
this
from budget to
happens
budget.
every year, we get.
Yes,
And the firemen hate it. They hate it.
yeah,
with
we can't
passion.
stand it.
But there's nothing that,
There's no other way
We
to
make-
do it.
what happens is this money is gonna get taken out. We're gonna put a rent on the hydrants, and then what's gonna happen is then the water department is then gonna hire the fire department to go paint their hydrants and snow blow their hydrants, and they're gonna get that money right back. So it just goes back and forth.
Didn't last year we come up with an easier solution for
I
that?
thought we did. We must have made a note. Wait,
Well,
we'll have to go.
in
back.
order-
That's gotta be fixed
Like I
before.
said, it's the old
It
budget
has to be
number,
this
so
way
I
just
think
because
we did something after that.
because the money for that comes from the village. So it has to be this way.
Right.
There's no other way to do that with
I
that
know
money.
you can't do it.
Has to go the way that we're doing,
Mhm.
because otherwise you can't.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Anything else, Mr. Janke?
I don't know, I'm looking,
That might have
I
been
have some other
clear.
things marked here, but, yeah, obviously, we talked about these zeroed lines,
Yeah, I'm
storage building.
Promise.
We can talk about some stuff too, I mean, there's obviously a couple things that we need to do down at the water department, there's some stuff here, I'm looking again at this. We can go in with those same numbers, is what it sounds like you're gonna do, is you're gonna go in with these amended numbers, you're gonna put on the next one.
Exactly. This is an extremely important conversation as we prepare to amend what we haven't even approved yet for next year. We've got to get the detail flushed out to a greater degree, so we know exactly what we're paying for out of what fund, and that they're properly categorized in the budget, so when we talk about vehicle maintenance, by way of example, we're talking wholly and solely about vehicle maintenance.
One other thing I was looking at in here was I just so you notice is that we charge the water company for rent, for office space rent.
Mhm.
Mhm.
This is again what I'm coming to when it comes to this Torch Lake Sewer Authority office space rent
Right.
number that eventually, before we get too crazy with that budget, I'd like to see the breakdown of her salary that we were supposed to be looking at. Hopefully she
We are collecting numbers. We do have
carded that out or
numbers.
something like
I
that.
brought that up 2 meetings ago.
Okay, sorry.
No, we are collecting.
No, but I'm on that like a dog on a crap.
Okay. Yeah.
Pardon the use of the term, right?
Yes.
Yeah, no, we
But know
actually,
that people are gonna pay
Christina,
a little bit more. My big issue with them is they don't pay a penny, and they wanna put it back on us to pay for it. Well, if you wanna put it on us, make it come from them, not from this township.
Well, the problem that I have with it is it needs to come from the people it's serving.
Some of it will,
That's just what I'm asking for. Yeah. It has
some
to,
of it will.
it has to come from the cost for her to do that stuff for the sewer authority needs to
Yes.
come from the people that it's serving.
It needs to come from the sewer.
which is people that it's serving.
But that's, they serve 3 or 4 different places.
Correct, but our portion of her collecting and doing the bills for
Right.
that
Right.
system,
Yes,
her costs for doing that
yes,
need to be borne by the sewer authority
yes,
Yes,
correctly.
yes.
Correctly.
because we're doing an
And I
administrative
wanted to
task
just
on
point
their
out that,
behalf.
yes, the water departments do pay for that. They have a line item in their budget for that. It is not free and, you know, I just ran a quick number on it and it does look a little low for the water departments too, but I mean, I just did it and for Tamarack, $1,500 would be 50 cents a customer, you know?
Well, we're looking at almost $1 a customer.
Yeah, we're already talking down on our advisory.
Okay, but I'm just saying, what I'm seeing, just for the space that we rent for her without anything else
Yep.
at all, just
Yep.
the office
And
portion.
we know, and here's what's gonna happen, and we're gonna tell sewer authority, if you had to hire yourself a secretary and have office space and everything else, you'd have to pay a sum for that.
Yeah.
Correct? Now, they're gonna turn around and they're gonna bill people in Tamarack for that. I see that coming. The issue is make that charge come from them, not as an admin fee on our bill, making it look like it's coming from this township charge.
Right.
That's
Make
true.
it
Needs to be a part of their
sewer
bill.
authority charge.
That's true.
Yes,
Needs to be a part of their bill.
but they don't, nobody sees their bill, and that's what we need, a little line on that water bill that says sewer authority administration fee or
Yes.
something, to point to them,
Mhm.
Yeah.
because they get away with murder. Anyway, we're on that.
Okay. I just wanted, I know I wasn't here last meeting and then I don't know if we would even, if I would have talked about that or if it even already was talked about, but
Yeah, we
Right.
Well, it's just like when
Just
the
for the
rate
record, go
increases
ahead.
too. I mean, it
Yeah.
goes on our bill, you know,
Yeah.
that the rate increases and it looks like it's
Ours.
being put through by us, but it's not. They tell us what to
We need
do
to put a
and
different wording in
Yeah.
that water bill.
Yeah.
because People gotta know, people come here and bitch, but nobody goes to sewer authority because they don't understand that's what the charge is.
Right.
Right.
it's not us.
Not us.
not us.
We're a pass through.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But some people don't understand that part.
Well, but it
No.
falls to us to explain it
Right.
clearly so they do understand it
I
and
agree.
to
Okay.
get the charge to the proper place, which would be the sewage authority.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Oh,
for the
yeah.
record, Christina is charting her hours for us and
Okay.
hopefully
So we'll be able to see this
we'll have 2 months worth at the end of the month, I believe.
of her time spent
Her
on
time
that.
spent, so we'll have.
Actually, she started it the last time we brought this up, like
Well,
a
she's
year
showing me
ago.
1 month.
I
month
gave you
and
a
a half.
bunch of numbers.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fine. I didn't realize they were in.
Well, at least we can break it down. I'd like to at least, if we have, the longer the period of time, the better, because the averages sometimes will change, go up and down. depending.
Mhm.
Well, we were all calling in at night, but that's the night I brought it up. And if you notice, the revenue they got off of us was $42,000. They paid us back 500.
That's the problem.
That's the problem. So,
And what really brings this to light is I heard how much they were charging. Other communities they were giving,
and the $8 something to Hubble,
well, that's what I'm talking about.
yeah, but a big part of that is the thing Hubble voted in for an addition. That's like $6 of it.
Okay,
So
I still just want to be fair.
we didn't vote that in.
I'm not looking I'm not looking to rip somebody off, but I want to make sure that
We're
That she-
properly compensated.
compensated.
But they
For
are
her
getting,
time.
they are getting, again, making it look like Hubble's getting the money and not the sewer authority doing the thing down there. Like, they too should point to.
We're about to, that sewer authority is about to do something big too here soon, so it's,
Oh, yeah.
there's gonna be, your point about making it very clear is gonna take front and center stage here very shortly.
Well, we've also talked, as everyone knows, this is a little sidebar, but we will want representation from the sewage authority, that our representatives to periodically come to this board and present what's going on, so we're better informed.
Well, I don't see why it should be any different than any of the other entities that we have working for us. You go to these other places like the city of Houghton and stuff like that, and all those heads of those things gotta be there and make their reports,
We
you know?
appointed 2 people,
Well, we do get the minutes and stuff.
I get it,
We're
I
looking for
understand.
an enhancement to that.
but
where
the
we-
minutes are passed.
And it can't, you know, I mean, if somebody can't make it, fine, you know, I mean, it
Yeah,
happens, these
you
things
know, I'm in
happen, you
prison,
know, I
but-
mean.
We're moving a little off topic.
I know, but it's still budgety, it's still budgety,
It's still budgeted, yeah.
we're still budgety here.
All right. Anything else, Mr. Janke?
Not really, I guess. The fire department did want to bring up some stuff about the sand pit. I don't remember if you remember that, Bob.
I remember that conversation.
So, I mean, I guess we'll, you know, we for sure decided not to sell that sand pit. But there is gonna be some, now we're gonna request that there be some funds, and I don't care if we take it out of the sandy bottom fund that looks like it's low. There's no way we're gonna use the rest of that fund that you have on there anyways this year. To do some stuff out there to repair that road or something like that. So
That's
there's a-
already,
Is that in the works then?
that's already in the works for next fiscal year. Yeah, we already have an offer
my-
from, Julio's from Don to fix the road.
So, with that being said, okay, as long as it's a money thing, obviously, I guess, and,
The estimate's pretty reasonable, under 1,000.
well, we need to, I guess in the next board meeting, I guess we can talk about
Yeah,
that.
my intent was to bring it to the board's.
I don't even know if
attention.
you need to, it's under 1,000.
Well, I know
right?
that, but my intent is to bring the repair of the road to the board's attention at our next regularly scheduled meeting.
Yeah,
To go forward with it and share what I've received from, Mr. Ebert relative to cost.
I mean, the use would be for spring cleanup,
Mhm.
which the township pays the fire department to do anyways. So,
Yeah, I've discussed a few ideas with Mr. Ebert and others about how to divide up what would go in there, et cetera, but nothing obviously has been decided. It was a preliminary discussion.
what I'm not sure I wanna do is turn it into a dump. I don't want it to be that, you know?
We're talking about yard waste and stuff that will go into, in essence, a compost.
I
pile.
still have dreams of our recreational plan being followed through on and maybe making it into a campground or something like that, you
Yeah.
know, where we can generate revenue off of that.
Well, that's not off the table, so.
No, so that's why I don't want to just completely wreck the place.
We're talking
with
about
junk.
road improvement and a compost pile.
Yeah, okay.
And yard-
Keep in mind that the plan at the community garden also does include compost as well.
Okay, well,
So,
there's.
In the event that we don't want to do that, we do have the option.
Well, the
through
leaf
community
pile that
garden as
usually
well.
comes from this. Significant.
Oh, I know.
It's
There-
I
not,
know.
There should be.
it's not a
more than
little, it's
enough
not
to
a
do.
little hill. It's.
Oh, you can see that smoke when you're.
it's-
Is, going back to the agenda, is everybody pretty much satisfied with the
I think I
discussion
am.
on next year's
Yes,
budget? Are there
yes.
any additional questions? We've got some wonderful ideas to pursue and things that need to be adjusted and brought up to speed, ideally before Wednesday.
Mhm.
If that's not possible, we do have a template with the amended budgets we've looked at tonight to complete our budget work, but with the understanding that we will begin the amendment process already in April with detail that will come after our meeting on Wednesday, given the need to close out the fiscal year and get our arms more fully around the revenues that are coming into the township. Anybody have anything else on the 21-22 budget relative to discussion items or topics they would like to see addressed either Wednesday or certainly as we proceed with the amendment?
I mean, let me get this, there's still one final thing that has to happen for this last year's budget, right? I mean, it has to be,
We just have to.
it has to be a final balance of it that has to be spot on.
Yeah, we're not gonna see.
Spent has to
those
equal
figures
actual for real eventually
Yeah.
here, right?
That will probably
So that's
occur in
gonna
the
be-
April, May timeframe,
Mhm.
as all of the bills come in, et cetera.
Otherwise, we saw it, we don't have to get it.
Anybody have anything else? Ideas, comments, and of course, these are things that individually we can bring to others' attention. If you think of something on the way home tonight, bring it up
I got one
Wednesday.
more thing.
Mr. Janke,
Is there any chance we could make it 5:10?
the next meeting,
Yeah, or something like that. I just could not get here for 5. There's just, it's
is that
just too much.
acceptable to everyone that we convene at
Is
5:10?
there's a way that you could give me 5 minutes to get here after work, I'd appreciate it.
I think we have certainly, is there a motion to move the start time from 5 PM to 5:10 PM?
I'd
On-
move.
So like 5:10 or 5:15, better for you.
I just need a little bit of time. I try to get here as fast as I can. I walk in at 5:03 and you guys are already all the way down to A. No, I mean, yeah, you know.
Yeah, make
so-
it 5:15. That's a,
5:15.
I would entertain a motion
Helps me
to,
to,
the start time move from 5 PM Eastern Daylight Time to 5:15 Eastern Daylight Time. We will repost tomorrow the new start time if approved. Do I have a motion to that effect?
Yes, I'll make it.
Mr. Wareham, is there support for the
I'll
motion?
support.
We have support for the motion. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion to change the start time of the meeting on Wednesday to 5:15 Eastern Daylight Time and posted immediately tomorrow, both on the website and all of our public notices? That captures the motion, does it not? Please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We will start at 5:15 on Wednesday, and we will change all the posting times tomorrow. Anything else? Before I call for public comment one more time? Everybody satisfied with the discussion? Thank you. This has been most informative. Our next item would be a final opportunity for public comment. Anyone interested in addressing the board would have up to 3 minutes. And would start after you identify yourself. Is anyone interested in commenting? And
This is
offering
Kristen.
input to the board?
Mark, this is Kristen. I'll make a short comment.
Kristen, you have up to 3 minutes. You may begin.
Okay, thank you. I want to say that I want to share an appreciation that the camera access makes a lot of difference. So thank you very much for the camera access and the settings access. You guys had that worked out today. And then you also had the board packet posted this morning. So I was able to print it out for the meeting. And as an attendee, I just want to say how appreciated, how much that helps to be able to follow along with the meeting. And then also to be able to share the meeting. So I appreciate that. And then Mark, you had mentioned this morning that you may push out the date of the postings that were just posted online today for the maintenance and the board of review. And if you decide to do that, I'm very supportive of that based on our discussion that we talked about. I'm just mentioning it. And that was it. So good job on the meeting. Thank you. And it was helpful to hear the discussion. So good meeting. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else that would like to address the board? Before I call for a motion to adjourn, I will offer a comment. We did not post the open positions on our website as quickly as we had hoped. In fact, a reminder came in and we have subsequently posted with an open date. The responses to date have been limited, but I do know there are responses. I have not looked at anything yet. With the board's understanding, it's my intent to move the due date back to Friday, the 2nd of April. We wouldn't be deciding on the position until the 14th. I've already talked with our current maintenance person, Dale Rogers, about extending for several days into April by posting on the website and extending the timeline and reposting till April 2nd. It might draw more interest across the township in the positions, both board of review and maintenance. Unless there's concern for that, objection from the board, it's my intent to extend it to the 2nd of April.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm going to assume silence is concurrence, and thank you very much for the latitude. Anything else for the board's consideration at this time?
Move to adjourn.
We have a motion from Mr. Janke to adjourn. Is there support? Mr. Wareham, we have a motion and support. All in favor of the motion to adjourn, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We stand adjourned. Nice discussion. Thank you.